What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Files podcast, where we talk about our favorite fantasy series and topics. We are your co-hosts, Spencer and Gabe, and we are joined by a very special guest today, Jim from the Fantasy for the Ages podcast. I'll introduce him properly in a moment, but if you're wondering what we're doing here today, we are going to be discussing the Dresden Files series in its entirety. We currently have an ongoing read along for the Dresden Files where we don't spoil anything beyond the book we are discussing, but I want to make it very clear for the people that are kind of keeping along with those. This is not that same series. This is going to be separate from our read along episodes, and we will be going into full spoilers for everything in the Dresden Files because our friend Jim here has just finished the Dresden Files for the very first time, and I'm sure that he really, really wants to talk about it. Before we get into it, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below and ring the little bell so that you can get notified when we upload new videos. You can also follow us on Twitter at Files Fantasy to keep up with all my nonsensical tweets that I make from our podcast account. With all that out of the way, so Jim, you joined me for a Wheel of Time episode on the podcast. And for some reason, I think there might be a little bit of a divide between the people who are really into Wheel of Time and the people that are really into Dresden Files. So in case the people watching this podcast episode did not catch our Wheel of Time video, would you like to kind of introduce yourself and your podcast and how people can watch you over there?
Absolutely. Thanks.
Sure.
I am Jim, the father of Fantasy for the Ages. My son, Zach, and I do this show. We started out as a podcast. Now we're also on YouTube. Our primary content comes out on YouTube, and then we still drop the audio into our podcast feed. Our focus is, the two of us just love fantasy and sci-fi fiction. So we decided, let's work our way through one of our favorite series, which for us was The Wheel of Time. It's going to take us probably about 5 years to work through this massive series as we go, a few chapters at a time, kind of summarizing and talking about what happens, but in what we call a spoiler light format. So if somebody's read the series before and they're watching our content, they'll enjoy the stuff we're alluding to and hinting at, but for first-time reader, it's great. It's like getting a second read while you're doing your first read, because we just kind of emphasize the things that they ought to remember, the things a first-time reader normally misses, the foreshadowing, the big things that are going to matter later. But We do that every Sunday. Then we throw in these other episodes on all other sorts of fantasy and sci-fi that we enjoy as we work our way through things like the Dresden Files. Now, we haven't featured that on our podcast yet. It's gonna be coming, but honestly, being invited on here with you today is the first time I get to talk with anybody about Dresden Files.
Yeah.
Love it.
So awesome.
Yeah, I was telling Gabe earlier, I'm like, he's got to be, after finishing Battlegrounds within the past week or so, I'm like, he's got to be itching to talk about it. Like, because I remember how I was feeling after Battlegrounds. I'm like, I need to talk about this.
We have a Discord server where a few of our Discordians had already read it. So they've been like egging me on and dropping hints and stuff, and it's been fun. But Zach hasn't touched these yet. He's bought them. They're waiting for him, but he has not yet. So I can't talk with my son about these books.
We got to do that, Gabe. We got to get a Discord server.
That'd be cool. And I'll say I'm on Discord. Is your Discord server the same as the rest of it?
Yeah, Fantasy for the Ages.
Okay,
that's awesome. Where you find it.
For sure.
And, we've got the invite in our Twitter feed and connected with all of our episodes.
Oh,
so
perfect.
It's easy to get an invite.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So as I'm sure you know by now, before every podcast, we talk just a little bit about what we've been reading lately. So now that you've finished Dresden Files, you're still reading Wheel of Time, but what else are you going into in your everyday reading?
Well, I've moved into two different series because I do one thing that I physically read, and another thing that I'm always listening to through Audible. So right now I'm physically reading through The Expanse.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I'm almost done with book 1, Leviathan Wakes. It's awesome. And I'm just going to
Yes,
keep
it
plowing
is.
through that series. What I'm
Yeah.
listening to is Rhaenyra Revelations.
Okay.
So I'm on book 2 of that now, which is technically book 3 and 4. It's kind of weird. And then
Yeah.
I'm going to move into the Chronicles as well after that. So I'm going to get through all of those. But
Nice.
I saw on Twitter, I think, Spencer, you the one that pointed this out. I did just finish Impact Winter, the Audible listen.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness, that was
Yes.
awesome.
Oh my, I love that book so much.
I mean, just 4+ hours of listening dramatic content, but
Oh my
so
God.
good. And I was listening and I'm like, this guy sounds like Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
And then I went,
Yeah.
and then I went, wait a second. No, I do know who that person is, because he was on Game of Thrones. Liam Cunningham. Yeah, it was
Oh,
great.
cool.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. We must have started on like the same day. We must have
Pretty
probably
much.
saw like the same notification, because that's how I saw it. There was this little notification that popped up on my phone that was like, you would probably like Impact Winter. And I saw that right after I finished whatever book I was reading. I forget. I think I had just finished Proven Guilty. And I was like, well, I need something to read that's like really quick. And it was like 4 hours long.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
I'm like, that's a perfect story. Like just
was
to
really
hop
good.
into a little world really quick. And oh my God, the ending made me cry, and then it made me so
Yeah.
happy. And like,
They've got to bring us a season 2.
I know.
I know.
There's more to come. Oh,
For sure.
Yeah, they left that in a perfect spot for
They did.
a season
Yeah.
2. I'm just like, man, that was just everything with it. The tension throughout every single like episode, and just the dramatic, like the sound effects, and there was licensed music in it, like music that I've heard before, like on the radio and Spotify and stuff. I'm like, man, this is really, really cool.
Yeah.
It really got me
They put some
invested in that
some
story.
real intentional thought into the sound effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
you could see what you were hearing.
Yep.
And
It was
and that-
disturbing sometimes,
Yeah.
but you could see it.
You
Oh.
hear those cackling vampires? You're like, holy crap, they're coming.
yeah.
And crunch, crunch,
Yeah.
crunch.
Yeah.
And when the fangs would drop out of their
Oh,
mouth,
yeah.
Oh,
emerge,
yeah.
you could hear that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And
It was great.
that was another cool thing about the production too, was because I guess normally I would have worried that, well, without there being a narrator, without there being somebody saying like he swung his sword or whatever, like how would I know what's going on? But between the sound effects and the ongoing dialogue in those action scenes, I never felt like I was out of the loop as to what was happening in the scene. Maybe there was a couple times where I was like, I wonder what just happened, but then it would get explained. And so I don't know. Did you ever feel lost or anything? I
Well, see, that was the benefit of having a full dramatic cast,
right,
instead of, just an audible narrator.
right.
Because different distinct voices, they made smart choices on who they brought in. Everybody's voice was very distinct.
Yeah.
So I was able to follow. Yeah.
For sure. All right. So Gabe and I are reading, have you heard of this series called Foundry Side?
I've
By
heard of
Robert
it. I have no
Jackson Bennett.
experience with it yet, but I've heard of it.
So we just started reading it in the past week or so. And man, it is really good. It's almost got have you seen the show Arcane on Netflix at all?
Not
It's kind of a
yet. I've
steampunky
heard
show.
good things.
Okay, it's kind of like that. I feel like it's kind of steampunky, maybe like
Okay.
Victorian era kind of thing, like maybe a little bit later than Victorian era. And I don't know, how would you describe this, Gabe? It's kind of a story about a thief.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she's-
Story about a thief that comes upon, she gets hired for a job and comes upon something that basically this thing that she finds is like what this book's about almost. It carries on. And there's like I call it magic. to them, it's very scientific in the way that they do it. It's kind of like, what did you say it was like? You mentioned something earlier today.
It's like the artificing from Killer
Yep,
Chronicles.
exactly. And so that's super cool, and see how they, like incorporate that and everything is just fantastic. And I'm afraid to say more because I don't want to accidentally give anything away, but
so in case you haven't read Killer Chronicles, basically the magic system is they can take an item and they can draw certain like runes and sigils on it and convince that item to do something that it's not normally supposed to do. So you can convince certain items to float or certain items to explode or do all these different things based on what you tell it to do through the runes and sigils. And so the thief at the beginning of the story comes across this key that is in high demand. It's this key that's hidden away in this box. And she's supposed to bring it back to this crime lord, but she finds out that this key is sentient. It has like a real mind and a real like a real voice and can communicate with her. And so then it's kind of just this spiral of people coming after her and chasing her down, trying to get the key and stuff. And it is very, very good. I think Gabe is on the first book right now. And I think we're going to do a podcast on it this weekend because we're enjoying it so much. But I just like literally minutes before getting home today, I finished the second book in the series. And it was so like blowingly good. Like the ending, I was just like, I did not see that coming. And it raised the stakes so much. And I was
Gabe
just
is
so
like,
excited.
Yeah, I know.
I
was like, I'm plugging my ears.
Yeah. And now I'm like, I can't believe, I think the third book is coming out a little later this year. And I'm like, I can't believe I have to wait any amount of time for the third book. I want it right now.
See, that's a challenge with some book series that, you have a little trust,
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin has crushed us, that he's never finished, and he never will finish A Song of Ice and Fire. He's going to die. Forget it. It's done.
Yeah.
I haven't touched Killer Chronicles because it's been over a decade now, and it's so good, I've heard, which means I'll just be let down that much harder. Dresden Files. Okay. It's not done, but dude keeps pumping them out. Yeah. I have no doubts in Jim Butcher. It's going to be just fine, but that's always that gamble. Do you start some, so I just started, as I said earlier, The Expanse. Well, the last book just dropped last year. So no shock that now I've started The Expanse, I'm sure it's going to be done. I'm much more at peace. Right. But Dresden Files was too good. I don't care.
It was too good. That's right. Yeah. I would say with Killer though, the second book comes to enough of a satisfying ending where you don't feel like he just left you hanging out there to dry. I mean, a little bit because like, there's still more that you want to know and stuff, but the end, the way the second book ends, it's kind of like, okay, I can live with that. Like if the characters were to be perpetually in this state forever, I can walk away from that and be okay.
The funny thing with Patrick Rothfuss, he's interacted with the fan base. He's a real guy. He's written that third book.
Yes.
It's just not quite good enough. Somebody just needs to go break into his house, steal the document and publish it anyways. And then he'd be fine. He didn't have to make the decision. It was taken out of his hands.
Right.
This was not an endorsement to break into Rothfuss's house. Just to be clear, do not sue this podcast. That's not what I don't want to get you guys in trouble.
All right. Well, speaking of breaking into Rothfuss's house, should we go into spoiler talk?
There's a segue for you.
That's right. That worked out really well.
Such a smooth
transition over there.
All right, we are going into full spoilers on the Dresden Files. So if you've just been hanging out with us for a little while to hear what we're up to, that's great. But we are going to go deep into the Dresden Files. We're going to spoil everything. So this is your last chance to turn away in
Run away,
3,
run away.
2, 1. You've been warned. All right. So something I actually just thought about before I want to ask this first question I have here. How did you get into the Dresden Files, and like why did you decide to pick it up?
All right. Well, two reasons, two ways. One, honestly, the TV series years ago. That's how I first heard about it. So it intrigued me all these years. It's been in the back of my head. I think I'd like reading those books at some point.
Yeah.
But then over last year, where my son Zach and I got into doing podcasting, and I realized how far behind I'd gotten on all the great literature that come out, because man, I've loved fantasy and sci-fi since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Read tons of stuff, but in the past 10 years, I'd maybe kind of gotten too busy with work. If my employer is listening, I don't mean that I was too busy. It's all important. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
But I had not read as much. And now getting back into it, I was like, holy crap, so much good stuff has come out.
There's a whole
and so
world
I've
out
been
there.
really working to catch up and diligently building a TBR that I want to plow through. And Dresden Files was highly recommended by friends, people on our Discord and stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna hit these. So I tried the first one and I went, holy crap, how did I wait for these?
Right.
Because the humor was right in line with what I enjoy, and all of the pop culture references, the Star Wars references. I swear Jim Butcher is, my brother from another mother. He's right in sync with me. So that's how I got into it. So, having heard it before and then having people recommending it, hit the first book and I was home. That was it.
Yeah. You were, I think I don't know if I might have seen, when did you start it? When did you start Dresden Files?
Oh, goodness. I went through them really fast.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It was maybe this is February. It was last September, maybe, that I started them. Maybe September or October. I mean, they read pretty quick.
They do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I was going to say, I think I saw your first tweet of like, oh, I'm reading the Dresden Files. And it was just like every like, maybe less than 2 weeks, like clockwork, just next book. And like you would start one and then the next day I'm 75% of the way through Deadbeat or whatever.
Much fun to do that.
Oh my God.
And I'm excited, that there are people who've been following that on Twitter who have now started Dresden Files. They're like, you convinced me, because I was hitting them with so much. And again, when I post those things on our Twitter account, I stick to our spoiler light format.
Yeah.
So I never drop big stuff. I hint at stuff. So if people have read them already, they're like, I see what you did.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. But anyone else, they're just kind of, I should check that out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for.
And I think you do that so well too, because sometimes you would post something like that and I'd be like, I know exactly what he's talking about, but there's no way anybody else does.
Yeah.
Well, I just did that today with a Leviathan Wakes post, my last post on our Twitter feed, that I'm like 89% in, and there's this big asteroid there.
Yeah.
Yep.
People know what I mean, but I didn't say what I mean.
That's right.
All right. Well, since you have just finished the series, I guess I kind of want to start this off with a bang, right? Like, what are you itching to talk about after getting through all of these books? And, like you said, your son isn't reading them, so it's not right now. So it's not like you can just go and talk to him after every book. Like, what are you itching to say about this series? What are you itching to talk about?
Oh man. Number one, I've looked at some people, what they've written about Dresden Files, or some other podcasters, what they've said about it. And anybody who has issues with the series, I don't get it.
Yep.
Right.
The progression of these books, one after another, is so well done. And I know some of the other questions of things we may talk about here, we'll dive into particulars. So I don't want to go into too much, but I thought it all flowed beautifully. Now, I get the benefit that I didn't have to wait You know,
Yeah.
when Ghost Story came out, if I'd read that and had nothing else, I'd be like,
Oh
"Are
my
you kidding
God.
me?
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
What the? Yeah, okay." But I didn't have to. So just the way all those things worked, they worked. Okay, so I really loved that. Also, now, okay, 17 books are out. Gotta wait for the next one now.
Yep.
But this is a good place to sit and wait. I'm
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
I'm feeling very satisfied after Battleground.
Yes.
That's like,
Oh, yeah.
that was good. And okay, full spoiler. She better not have to wait till everyone forgets about her before she comes back as
I
a
know,
Valkyrie.
I
Okay,
know.
let's just
I,
be real
I was gonna
here.
ask.
We're gonna break that sucker rule. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like there's no way that's sticking. There's no
Murphy's
way.
gonna be like, hey, those rules are for the other suckers. I'm getting back in the game. Okay.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. I cannot imagine Dresden Files without Murphy. I think there's got to be some way to bring her back. I guarantee she won't be back in the series for like 2 or 3 books.
Yeah, not
But-
right away. It'd be too soon.
Yeah, but by the time the big, have you heard about the big apocalyptic trilogy that's supposed to end the series?
I have not. Because
Okay.
I'm careful. I don't want to know too much about what's coming before I get it. So,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
all
Okay.
right. But no, okay. So there's something. It's
Do you
going
want
to
me
be
to-
something big.
Do you want me
Feel
to
free.
mention a little bit? Okay.
Feel free.
So Jim has basically said that he expects it to be like I think his original plan was for it to be a 23 book series. And then to end it, there would be a trilogy at the very end, which he calls the big apocalyptic trilogy. What that means, we don't exactly know, but it's going to be a big banger of a trilogy at the end where everything just goes to hell, I would imagine. And so I would bet money that Murphy would be back by that point.
Yeah.
I think
Now-
she would be back for the finale.
When Murphy died, I was like, oh crap. I really hate Rudolph right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, yes, that needed to happen.
Oh,
Because I've had a long-term prediction going that Harry and Molly, they gotta be a thing eventually. That's the
Yeah.
one that makes sense. Okay, not way back when in the beginning, but it's gotta go there. And it can't go there if Murphy was in the way. So
yeah.
it had to happen, and she dies as a warrior, and it's perfect. And when Harry starts to dismiss it, and Guard is like, you better not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
went out right. That was great.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble with that scene. I've always kind of half-heartedly rooted for Harry and Molly, but I just never at the end of the day, like gun to my head, I'm like, I just don't think they're gonna work together. I think it's always supposed to have been Harry and Murphy, but for that scene specifically, my reaction to it was probably the most probably the biggest reaction I've ever had to a book. So I've been reading these books for, I don't know, a decade or so. And so I've just been with these characters for so long. I've reread them so many times. And Murphy is such an important character. She's like one of my top 3 favorite characters in the series. And there's just so much like emotion tied to that. I was reading the book in physical form because usually I do audiobooks, but for Dresden, I always read in physical form first. And I'm sitting there and I get to that scene and like literally like my heart stops and I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening right now. Like, I can't believe it. And I got through that scene and I had to literally like close the book and set it down for like several days. Like, I don't think I picked it up
You
again
put it
for
in
like
the fridge.
6 days. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was just we fridged Murphy.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Take that back.
No, I had to sit it down for like a while and I was just like, I literally like it hit me so I've never had a book hit me emotionally that much. Like, I've cried at books and stuff, but dude, that got a huge reaction out of me. And that was a really, really tough scene. And I don't know.
It was one where I read a lot squeezed in between things in my day. So that particular section, I got to that point and had to move on to other stuff.
Oh,
And it was a good spot to let it sit for a little,
Yeah.
Dwell on it a little bit.
Yeah,
Certainly is.
yeah, man. But again, Jim Butcher, I really appreciate his skill as a writer. And I'm not into literary analysis and all that stuff, but this is one because I've read it so fast. You can see his growth as he wrote.
Definitely.
Not that he was bad at the first book, but just the way his skill has blossomed as he moved through this series. It's really obvious. So in this particular case, her death scene is so well foreshadowed.
Oh yeah.
Pointed out, the trigger discipline earlier in the book.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and then it happens. And even before she gets shot, she's about to get shot. It's obvious at that point. You don't know she's gonna die. But again, when she does, I'm like, yeah, all right, it's kind of been headed that way. I get you.
Yeah. I think there's kind of two ways about it, because definitely at that point in the series, I was like, somebody has to like seriously die in this book. Like it's been too many books since somebody has like somebody that we are close to has died and created this huge impact. So I'm like, definitely in Battlegrounds, people are going to have to die. It's going to be like a huge red wedding thing, like people are going to go, right? And I haven't read Game of Thrones, so I'm probably using that phrase incorrectly. But
I know a lot of people die in the Red Wedding. It's accurate.
Yeah. But also it's coupled with this knowledge that somebody has to die in this book, somebody of consequence. But also in that scene, there's been so many scenes like that where people have been really close to dying, but something comes in at the last minute to save them. Michael comes in at the last second to save Molly from getting her head chopped off.
Yep.
And all these other scenes that are so similar. And so there was a part of me that was like, yeah, maybe she does have to die in this book. But then the other half of me was like, no, something's going to save her. Like she's going to get out of this somehow. And then when it happened, I think it was like a stake through the heart.
But see, that's where Butcher has progressed to in his writing style, because, okay, she dies. And not only that, then, okay, we've seen Harry Dresden again and again be pushed beyond his limits and then somehow come out on top. Pull things out of his hat, friends come and bail him out, all sorts of things. And in this case, his friends step up. You got Sonya, you got Butters stepping up by saying, dude, you're going too far.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
Yeah.
And he kicks Sonya's butt. And then, he's just about ready to go off on everybody. And yet they managed to beat him down. Butters, of all people, manages to bring him back to grounding. That was real. It's totally fantasy stuff, and yet there was a realness to the way Butcher wrote that. I was like, oh man. So that had more gravitas than Murphy's Death, to be honest. Murphy's Death set it up. But that was where he's going all apocalyptic on his own, and they bring him back.
Yeah.
Wow. That was deep.
Super. That was an absolutely fantastic scene.
And you guys do like the lightsaber, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What has that? So I guess I do want to jump into some of these other questions, but what have been your most like surprising moments? I would imagine that Butters becoming a knight and having the lightsaber is probably one of them, right?
I so enjoyed that. Tosses it to Murph, it bounces off her hand, goes to Butters. That was awesome. Yeah, that's one of my top moments in the series. That's for sure. Obviously in Changes, when the whole red vampire court is that's huge.
Oh my God, yes.
Massive.
Huge. Oh my goodness. There are so many good moments. You
I
wanted
know.
to keep this to only 90 minutes, right? Seriously, you want all? Okay.
Well, what about Marcone in Battlegrounds?
That was great.
Dude,
that
that took me by
reveal
complete
at the
surprise.
end.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it coming, but when it hit, I went, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's, again, more and more that's been happening with these points. Butcher has laid so much down. And there are people, I'm sure you guys have heard this, people, and hopefully you haven't been these people, who bash on, the first couple of books, maybe 3, that they're like, yeah, they're kind of getting going, but there's a lot of slowness. I'm like, those are critical. There is so much laid down in those first 3 books that add into what happens later.
Yeah.
And, the stuff that's initially introduced about Marcone fits into that. Totally.
Yeah.
He is such a unique character who is so intricate. And yeah, now that he's one of the knights of the Blackened Denarius. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
So
you think that's going to be part of that apocalypse at the end, by the way? The final head off between those two?
I have a strong feeling because it's been coming for 17 books. It's still not here yet.
I wonder because like I just don't see Marcone as the big bad because they are so like frenemies. Like they're almost on the same side. Like
Just
they're
about.
almost on the same side. I really think that Marcone is going to continue to have a redemption arc. I think that he's already had a lot of redemptive moments in the series, but I think that he is going to have like a full redemption arc by the end.
Even with the coin?
Yeah, I
Wow.
think so. Because I think he's just using the coin to get the power he needs, unless the coin corrupts him completely.
Well, that's because the track record for those coins not corrupting, it's like pretty much
Yeah.
Harry.
There's
Yeah.
a precedent.
He didn't
No. There's
Okay.
a precedent. Nicodemus is in charge still. He
Yeah.
uses that coin.
That's
but
true.
he's in charge.
That's true.
And for a couple thousand years.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
an argument could be made that Marcone has that strength
As
of
the
character.
will. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
true.
I can see
that
that. I
will.
can see that.
Right.
That's a
But,
great point.
That's a very good point.
It is a question. Who's going to be the ultimate big bad? Marcone could end up being that guy. His saving grace at this point is he holds one core character trait that Dresden identifies with, and that is Chicago. It's his town. They both care about Chicago for different reasons,
Right.
but they both care about Chicago. If that ever changes, like if the coin takes him, so screw Chicago, I want the world. Yeah, okay, then he's the big bad.
Yep.
But I don't know what will happen.
True that.
But remember, Marcone also cares about children.
He does. Yep.
People who
his daughter.
kick dogs and kill children are always evil. He likes children. He takes care of that one who was shot earlier and, cares for her. You're right. Yeah. Does he have a dog? If he takes care of a dog, he can't be the big bad.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. I kind of think the big bad is going to be like Nicodemus. Nicodemus for sure. I there's no way I could see Nicodemus not being involved in like the final confrontation unless Harry finds a way to take him out in the next couple books. But I think it's going to be like Nicodemus, the Outsiders, and the Black Court. I think
Nemesis.
the Black Court are going to come back in a big way.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yes.
And this is probably a duh, but I'm going to ask. Have you read all the short stories?
Yes.
Briefcases,
Yeah. Yep,
side jobs?
yep.
Yeah. Anyone, if you're listening to this and you've been loving Dresden Files and you didn't read those, you are missing out.
Yes,
There's
definitely.
vital pieces. Those are
Yep.
not just pure fluff extras. You gotta read those. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yep.
I can't fathom. I read all the short stories, finished them up before I started Peace Talks. And I
Okay.
can't imagine experiencing those
Without
before I'd read the short stories. It wouldn't have been nearly as rich.
Yep. I
Oh
agree.
yeah, for sure.
I
I
remember
mean,
when
just River Shoulders, criminy. I wouldn't have got him at all.
Oh right. Yeah, you'd be
For
like,
sure,
who's River
for sure.
Shoulders? Yeah.
I remember when I found out what happened to Carlos in those short stories, and that blew my mind because
that That one with him and Molly.
Yeah,
Woo!
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yikes.
The way that he has built this world little by little, just the things that he adds in every book is so just amazing. How we started off in this first book with a small case about murder and black magic in Chicago. And then we built into this world where like 99% of the content in Dresden Files has just been in Chicago, but we get this feeling that this world is so massive. Especially with the addition of the Never Never and the Fae and all that.
Yep.
Well, yeah, great point. Go back to book 4, Summer Night, which some people are like, yawn. I mean, what about all the other cool characters you'd introduced, and now you're spending all this time with the summer fae and the winter fae? And what? Like, again, what that introduces and where he takes it. This is an author that has, if anybody's bothered to read all of them, he has built up huge credit. That if there's something in a book and you don't understand why he put it there, just wait.
Oh, yeah.
You'll get there. With the exception of, oh goodness, blanking on the name of it, that little cold he had in Peace Talks and Battleground.
Oh, yeah. The sneezes or whatever.
Hold on. I know. It
starts with a C.
Chondritis.
Chondritis.
Wow, Gabe,
I thought it was hilarious. But it really didn't serve much purpose.
Yeah,
maybe he'll do something else with it. I don't think so. I think it was just, I think this is funny.
Something
I'm gonna throw this in here.
Yeah. That was kind of weird. And that was a pretty big complaint by some people from those books. They were like, what was this conjuritis thing? Like, what was all that for?
I totally saw it as chicken pox.
Yeah.
It's the wizard version. You don't want to get it when you're adults. You want to have it as a kid. I got it. It was funny. It was like a running gag. Everyone who'd find out he had it was like, seriously? At your age?
Yeah.
It was just a running joke.
Saying that. Yep.
That's great.
So I didn't have a problem with it. Again, Jim Butcher has built up so much credit with me. I don't care. Throw in anything you want.
That's right.
What, the Titanic suddenly appears going through Chicago? I'm fine with that now. I don't care.
All right. So what about, see, you've just finished the series and this is your first time through. So was there anything that you didn't catch or that you wanted like clarification on, or any just questions you have for people that have read the series a lot?
Man, I don't think so. In that it all made so much sense as it went through every reveal. Now, not everything I saw coming. It's like, no, some of these were great reveals, but it's something that I give a lot of credit to Jim Butcher for. There was nothing that happened where I was like, really? Come on. No, everything seemed logical.
Yep.
He built to these things, and I found every surprise very satisfying.
Yeah.
Often very entertaining. So, I don't have anything that I'm puzzling. Now, those of you who've read these multiple times, you'll probably be like, yeah, Jim, you have no idea what you don't understand yet. Okay, that's fine. But I've just enjoyed it all, and nothing has puzzled me. It's just made great sense and been very satisfying.
Awesome.
For sure. Do you have any like speculation or theories that you've kind of made on your way through that haven't quite been explained yet?
A couple. One, and we alluded to this earlier, I still see Harry and Molly becoming a thing at some point. That's gotta happen. Dang, Molly is hot. I'm sorry, I've seen some of the fan art, but even before the fan art, just the way she's described, I'm like, and Harry, such self-control.
I know,
dude.
I would not be able to.
I mean, from that first scene in the hotel room where she's like throwing herself at him,
Yeah.
Okay, now that self-restraint made sense because Michael would have killed you. That's fine. Well, no, Charity would have killed you. But anyways, as it's gone later on, I'm like,
come on, guys,
really?
Come on.
She's available. She's interested. Okay, so that's going to happen at some point. It's got to happen. But the one that intrigues me the most is there's been a lot of stuff laid down about Merlin, the original Merlin.
Yes. Yeah.
And how that plays into Harry. Is Harry a direct descendant of Merlin? Is he the apprentice descendant? Because Ebenezer had all of those journals in his office, in his room, all the way back to the original Merlin. And it was understood these would go to Harry eventually. Now, will they now? Well, we got issues, but there's a direct line of mentor to pupil from the Merlin to Harry. But now you've got this issue with the prison, with the island, and Harry is the warden here. And okay, the Merlin set this up. So there's still another tie to Harry Dresden between him and the Merlin. Something's going to happen there. I don't know what. I'm very curious. I've seen fan theories out there that maybe Harry is Merlin. Who
in a
knows?
time travel-y way.
I don't buy that one. I'll go right on the record. Harry's not Merlin. No,
I don't think so either.
No, but there's something that I'm waiting to see what's revealed there for sure. Probably the final book.
Yeah. There is another really cool tie to Harry, because we just read Proven Guilty, and I forgot that it mentions that, at that point in Proven Guilty, Harry is caring for one of the swords before Butters gets it. He's holding on to it for a long time. Yep. And Michael mentions that another person that used to be a caretaker of that sword was the original Merlin. And so it's like,
Excalibur.
Weird. Yes. Yeah. Yep. And then we find out that Michael's sword is Excalibur.
Yep. Okay. One other thing I want to throw in here now when we're looking at stuff, I want to see where they're going to take Toot Toot. Because we've watched him growing from this itty bitty little pixie to now he's like this big, and he's General Toot Toot or Major General, following the Zalord, and he's built all these armies, and he's even got a girlfriend now who, of course, is like, you call me your girlfriend, I'm going to kill you. But who hasn't been there? Right. That is so entertaining, but it's a subtle thing too, to just see something to do with how Harry's poured into Toot Toot and his belief in Toot Toot, and he's growing, he's becoming more. There's something there that's gonna do something else. I'm sure something else is coming.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, because I don't think Harry has told us what Toot's full name is. And a lot of people have come up with these theories based on some of the fairies' names of what they are in, real life lore and mythology and stuff. But Harry just calls him Toot Toot. So I have a feeling that if we were to know what his real name is, we'd be able to kind of figure it out in mythology. Because like people have figured out that Lacuna is the Tooth Fairy based on her name, and going back
Kringle. Yep. My goodness, I loved that.
Yeah. Yes.
Who is he not? Odin, Kringle,
Batarang.
I'm having so much fun with that one. That's great.
For sure. Who do you think the gatekeeper is? Any theories?
Oh man.
Or like just what he's about besides.
I think that's still just a mystery,
Yeah.
Is Harry destined to be the next gatekeeper?
Yeah.
Could be. Would there not be a gatekeeper after this era ends? Will the outsiders be done? Who knows? But he was a very mysterious character when he was first introduced. And now we're like, oh yeah, we like that guy. Yeah, that guy's cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He gets Harry. Speaking of, should we talk about Mab now?
Yes. Gabe has a question.
My goodness.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this earlier, thinking of questions to ask you. And one that I always didn't trip myself out about, but like I would think about it more so than some other ones. And, in the beginning, Queen Mab, super unfriendly, menacing, very mysterious and whatnot. And then towards the end, especially Battlegrounds, like we kind of see a different side of Mab. What did you think of that transition? Or
That
kinda
was
how?
amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, she starts out as the evil fairy,
yeah,
all bad, all dark. Don't cross her. And I'm out to get you, Harry.
Yep.
And yeah, we get to see behind the curtain, and it's been very clearly stated she was mortal once upon a time. She was a
Yep.
person.
Yeah.
She, I imagine, became the Winter Lady and then
Mhm.
graduated to being Queen Mab,
Yep.
But she's still in touch with the fact that she used to be this, now she's this, because the world needs her to be this.
That's right.
Right.
And more than just the world, I mean, the whole everything needs her
Yeah.
to be this. And Harry is picking up on that I'm becoming something I didn't think I'd be, because that's what's needed. A piece at a time.
That's right.
That's how Mab became Mab. It's like, ooh, okay. All right. That's cool.
And that's been a really cool theme throughout the whole series. Is Harry says, in every other book, he's like, look, becoming evil or becoming something huge, it doesn't happen overnight. It's like a little tiny piece at a time. And I think that is a journey that we've seen with many of the characters over the entire series. And it's a very strong through line for the series.
Yeah. And not always because of my personal gain, what I wanted, but I become more evil, so it's better for others.
Right. Yes.
That's powerful. It's like, I'm going to accept this. I'm going to take this for the team.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Ooh. Okay. Now, one word that comes from the whole Winter Fae that I bust out laughing when it happened. Vajazzled.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
talking about
goodness.
Maeve. Oh yes, that was hilarious.
Are you kidding me?
Vajazzled.
Oh, that was perfect.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's Harry for you.
I love how he said that too, because I think he was trying to find a way to describe it. He's like, the only way I can think to describe it is that she was vajazzled.
And yet we had an image right there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
got
yeah.
it.
That's
Yep.
right.
Enough
Thanks
said
for-
right there. And
Yeah.
yet in Battleground, Molly shows up in a similar format.
What do you think about that? About how Molly has kind of grown? Because like I said, we just finished Proven Guilty, where it's pretty much the introduction of Molly. It's kind of like the beginning of her arc, and it was so emotional and nostalgic to be there once again for the beginning of her story. How do you feel about Molly now that she's, after reading Battlegrounds and kind of even at the end of Skin Game, she visits Harry and Murphy in the hospital, and she's walking away and she gets on a cell phone. And Harry's like, she wouldn't be able to use that cell phone if she was still mortal.
No, she's clearly changing.
Yeah.
Just like Harry has, but Harry with the Winter Mantle, he's still fully mortal. He's just got this power he can tap into. Yeah, that, by the way, whoa, as that's developed to sense that, okay, it doesn't really make you immortal or do anything special. It just allows you to fully maximize your human potential.
Right.
And remove the inhibitions.
Yeah.
So you could push yourself to the limits that a human normally doesn't realize they have.
Right.
You may break yourself without realizing it, because, normally pain stops you from doing that, but you don't have to worry about that now. Okay. That was kind of cool that he thought of that Butcher thought of that. But yeah, Molly's clearly something else.
Right.
Just like Mab.
Yeah.
Not mortal anymore. Something else. But what Harry poured into her over those years as an apprentice, and that's something people reading this don't necessarily realize. It was years. This wasn't just 6 months, 9 months of training. Years. Right. I mean, she's not a teenager anymore. She's a full-grown woman with clear skills. And even that whole year of the ghost story time where she was on her own, navigating everything completely. She's got the inner fortitude to take on the Winter Lady and to still be Molly.
Yeah.
And one of the best parts of that, of course, is near the end of Battleground, when she finally goes home.
Oh my God.
Yes.
What a great scene. And the Carpenters are the best parents ever.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. That was so phenomenal.
Yep.
They're like,
oh yeah, we knew you were the Winter Lady. We'll talk later, lady. Yeah, young woman, but come on in. We just love you. Oh man, that almost got me. That I don't cry when I read stuff. That almost, maybe a little wetness in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you expecting Michael and Charity to know that she was the Winter Lady? Because that took me by surprise, I think.
I was expecting it.
Yeah.
They're very insightful people. They're no idiots, and they're very in tune with this whole supernatural world. So it made sense. Now, I was very entertained a couple books back when Michael made a comment to Harry,
yes.
and Harry's like, oh, you don't know yet, and allows him to think
that they're sleeping
that, he was banging his daughter,
Yeah.
And that's better than letting her know, that was hilarious. But now I'm like, okay, so had Michael actually already figured it out already, and Harry misinterpreted that? Because I don't know.
That's an interesting unreliable narrator type thing. Is
Right.
like,
oh, I am so glad you brought that up. Unreliable narrator. Because
yes, let's talk about it.
This is one I've not figured out yet. There's a lot of theories of what are we really reading? Is this just stories that Butcher's written, or is this like a journal? Is this something? Is this a story that Harry's telling to Maggie someday, or that he's written down for posterity? I mean, what is it? I have no idea yet. I'm curious. What is this? What do you guys think?
Gabe?
I'll be totally honest. I haven't really thought about that a whole lot. Spencer, like a long time ago, would say that he thinks it's a story that Harry is telling somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him telling me that, and I was like, I could see that, but I haven't dove very deep into that line of thought yet.
I think that it has something to do with, like you said earlier, all the journals that we saw. I think that Ebenezer has died or something and passed those journals on to Harry, and then he has started his own to kind of recount these events for Maggie or somebody.
Right.
Or maybe another theory that I was kind of thinking of is, what if the book right before the big apocalyptic trilogy, what if he is like sitting at the end of the world and he is telling this story to somebody, and then when the final trilogy happens, it's no longer in first person because he's already told his story.
Ooh.
And so we get third person POV of all these different characters. I would love that.
That's interesting.
It would be pretty cool.
I mean, there are certainly a number of times throughout these books where it's shifted the way it said something, where he'll be like, and this event haunted me for years.
Yep.
So it's obvious it's not just in the moment. It's being written from the future. But that's about all the hint we get. So any of your theories are very plausible.
And I think it's pretty plausible that he is not only just like writing this stuff down, but with a specific audience in mind, like a specific person or group of people. Because there's a lot of times where he like breaks the fourth wall to talk directly to you, basically. And so I think that they are letters or journals for somebody, probably Maggie. I don't know.
But that argument suggests it's for someone who's male, because of how many times he points out the particular endowments of
that's
distracting women. I'm just saying.
Yeah, maybe he wouldn't want his daughter reading that. Yeah.
Because Maggie's going to be like, cut it out. Seriously? What are you talking?
Yeah.
maybe
you ever
maybe finally he gets on good terms eventually with Carlos, and Carlos is like, oh yeah, Ramirez. He's like, oh
Well,
yeah, I remember
did,
that. I don't know.
did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
I have. Oh
I mean,
yeah,
he was recounting all his sexual experiences to his kids.
That's not appropriate, but his kids were grown by then, so
That's true.
all right.
So what were your favorite books in the series? Like your highest moments, and then your least favorite ones where, they're all great. Don't get me wrong, but I certainly have my least favorites and most favorites.
Well, I definitely enjoyed Deadbeat.
Yeah.
I mean, a dinosaur running through downtown Chicago. Yeah, it was great. And the introduction of Butters as another level, a character who, I mean, Polka to keep the zombies going, okay. All right. That was great. I enjoyed that. Small Favor really upped the scale of the plot as a whole of where we're going with things. So I appreciate that. Changes. I mean, what that did for things.
How many times did somebody tell you, wait till you get to Changes? Wait till you get to Changes.
Too many times.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, that is the one spoiler I got in advance.
Oh no.
And I hate that because I hate spoilers.
Yeah.
Which is great when I do a full spoiler episode like this. I'm like, people, don't be listening if you haven't read this. But
which spoiler? Okay,
I knew Susan was going to die. I didn't know the context. I didn't know, but I knew she was going to die in that one. So, okay. But anyways, okay. Ghost Story. This is controversial amongst the fan base in some cases I've seen, but I loved Ghost Story.
Me too.
Thank you.
We were just talking about
Me too. I loved it.
In that it was such a shift, and it gave us something totally different. Yeah. And there are things we learned in that are going to have payoffs still coming. Coming. I mean, Murphy's dad and that whole experience. Yeah. Whoo.
Kincaid.
I admit when I started reading and I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I dug it. And then he uses it to do a significant time jump.
Right.
It's like over a year before we get back into the main story again. And he used it to grow some other characters where they have all been so reliant on Harry that they're just Harry leeches. They're with Harry, whatever. But now they had to do their own thing. And when Harry comes back, they're ready to be there for him in Battleground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been without Ghost Story. We needed that. So again, Butcher, brilliant. Love him as an author.
That's very true. That's very true. I've never quite thought of it that way. But yeah, Ghost Story has always kind of been my least favorite, along with probably Full Moon. You mentioned the first couple books earlier about how a lot of people give them crap. And I don't think that I give them crap or anything, but I do, for someone who's like read the series a bunch of times, I usually just skip those books because I already know. But I think for somebody like, reading.
Oh, you just said it though. Because you already know them.
Yeah.
If you take that information out, you have problems with the rest of the series. You gotta endure through them to get what you need as the underpinnings.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Ghost Story.
And then.
What was your least
Peace
favorite?
Talks to Battleground. Okay. Should have been one book.
Yes.
Yeah. Are we right? I mean, we should have been, and I've looked into the, what's out there and what Butcher has said about it. His idea was one book, but it would have broken
huge,
his pattern. It would have been too much. He's like, oh, you're becoming the new Sanderson. He couldn't do something that big. So, okay. I would have hated it if Peace Talks had been published and we waited another year plus for Battleground.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That would have been horrible. As they came out, that worked. That was fine.
Well, I really don't mind it that much because I think that, at the end of the day, it's more Dresden Files, because if he had just cut out like maybe unnecessary scenes from either one and made it one regular length book.
Talking about conjuritis.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
he probably he probably could have done that. And
Watch out for the pot.
yeah.
When the first sneeze happened, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Did you guys see Justine? Did you see that coming?
No. I mean,
I
sort
did.
of.
I did right away when that happened at the beginning. He says, just whatever. And I was like, oh, Justine's the bad one here. He was trying to tell him it's Justine. I saw that. Now, I didn't see Nemesis in her, but I knew there was something going on there. So yeah, that was.
I've got another question for you. Sorry to interrupt anybody, but at the end of Battlegrounds, when Ethnia was sending Harry visions of basically, his daughter and the Carpenters getting murdered, did you see that coming?
I did not.
Okay, I didn't either.
As
I
soon
was
as
like
revealed, Mouse wasn't there. Yes, I get it, but
exactly.
no, I didn't see it ahead. I'm like, oh crap! What do we do now?
Terrified, terrified for like 5 minutes, and I was like, oh, thank God.
But that was brilliant.
Yes, it was so
revealed.
good.
And that is so much of what Jim Butcher does. That he puts stuff in there you don't necessarily see coming, but when it hits, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how he does this.
No, but it's incredible.
Right? So since we're talking about Battleground, what do you think of that? Battleground had probably the longest epilogue that we've ever seen in a Dresden Files book.
He has a castle.
After that big battle, that's usually when the book kind of has one more chapter and it wraps up. This had I think the epilogue alone on the audiobook was like an hour.
It was appropriate. It was a lot to wrap up there. Yeah. Man, we haven't talked about, I'm going to get the pronunciation wrong because I don't listen to the audiobooks on these yet. Bonia, however you pronounce it.
I'm pretty sure it's Bonia, right?
Yeah,
Bonia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Bonnie,
I'm digging that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And where we're gonna go with that between her and Maggie and both of them growing up with Harry now. Oh,
yeah, that's true. A lot of potential there.
Yeah. I'm interested to see where that goes. I haven't formed any solid opinions of the whole Bonnie Bonia situation, just because we haven't really gotten that much of her, but I'm interested to see how she grows as a spirit of intellect, because we see the final form of a spirit of intellect, really, which is Bob, this database of just tons and tons and tons of information. But now we're watching Bonia have to start from the very beginning and learn things to store away for later. And so, she's going to be kind of growing up with Maggie and learning things as Maggie learns them.
Now, can I add to that? My understanding is that she already has all the knowledge Harry had.
Yep.
She doesn't have any context.
Yes, right.
So she doesn't have any moral base. She doesn't have any understanding of what to do with the knowledge, but she's got a massive amount of knowledge, which is what makes her so dangerous. Because we saw Bob when he was with the bad guy, Bob, and when he's with Harry, and the huge difference that makes. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about with Bonnie.
Yes.
Right.
So let me throw a different theory out here.
Sure.
What if Maggie never presents any magical ability?
Oh,
I just don't see that happening. I think she's gotta.
We haven't seen anything yet. She has an intuitive awareness of the supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen any actual ability yet, have we?
No. Yeah. What if she's just psychic or something? And she can sense the supernatural.
What if she becomes Murphy 2.0, where she knows the stuff that's there, has been raised with it all along, but doesn't have any personal ability. She just knows how to navigate it.
Yeah. Have you heard about his YA series that he's gonna make with Maggie?
No.
Oh yeah.
Really?
So he's got this YA series planned where Harry Harry sends her to, it's kind of a boarding school called
Hogwarts.
It's it's an acronym. I think the school is just called Special or something. It's an acronym for something.
No, don't say she went to a special school. Please don't say that.
But it's kids. It's a school for kids who are aware of the supernatural. And Jim Butcher has said that, like we saw in the Zoo Day short story.
By the way, best short story of all. You talked about him earlier, and then I said Bigfoot. No, Zoo Day is the
Zoo Day was
one.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But Jim has mentioned that kids of a young age, of like Maggie's age, can see monsters and see like these invisible things. And then as we get older and become adults, we forget about all of that stuff, and it just kind of fades away from us as we grow older. And so she's going to be in this boarding school for gifted children who are either have some sort of magical talent or know about the supernatural, or have a dad who is the sheriff of Chicago, the wizardly sheriff. And so she's going to get sent there, and it's just going to be a bunch of hijinks with her at the academy and being able to see these invisible monsters and stuff. That's really all I know about it.
Hufflepuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, this is so fun talking to you about these things, guys.
No, we're so excited to have you on. It's great. We've never like broken down a whole series like this.
I don't. Yeah, I think. I was just going to say, I think this is the first time we've been able to talk about the series as a whole, because we've just been going book by book by book.
Well, it's fun for me too, because we don't do this on our show either. You know, we talk about whole series now as to whether people should read them or not. But again, no spoilers when we do it. So
for sure.
This is great. Just, hey, if you're listening, awesome. You better have listened, yeah. Love it.
Well, your memory on this is probably going to be a lot better than ours, since you just went through these. But
keep in mind, I'm old. So
sure, yeah, we'll take that into account. What what have been some of your favorite or most memorable quotes from the book? Any favorite of Harry's sayings or anything?
Whoa, quotes.
The quotes are hard to come by, even if you just read the book.
That's rough. Any of his Star Wars references.
Yes,
are great.
yeah. Him and Molly
just
with
as
Star
a
Wars
general
is
thing.
wonderful.
Oh, and when he and Molly will drop something and look at the other and like, I see what you did. Oh, yeah, that's always fun. Yeah, that's always fun.
I agree.
I can't pull any other specific quotes out, but sure. I'll reference a specific moment that the first time that Butters has a lightsaber and he says something, and I forget exactly what the quote was, but it was just, okay, that was good. Yeah. Whatever it was, I don't remember. Oh, that was so good.
One of my favorite, and I think kind of the fandom as a whole, one of our favorite quotes is it was Blood Rights. It was the very beginning of Blood Rights. And up until Blood Rights, we saw Harry burn down a building almost every single book. And
then he keeps cracking jokes about those. Yeah. The rest of the series. Is that where you're going?
Yeah. And then the very first line in Blood Rights is, the building was on fire and it wasn't my fault.
There are so many repeated jokes about that the rest of the series, Oh, yeah. Literally, they just can't help giving Harry crap about burning buildings the rest of the way.
There's even one time where like Harry and Murphy are just hanging out or talking or something, and he mentions in passing like a building that had burnt down, and she just kind of gives him this sideways glance.
Exactly. Like, it's our inside joke. Yeah. All right. Something we haven't talked about at all that I'd love to hear your thoughts on. From, I think it's Battleground. It might be Peace Talks, but I think it's Battleground. When Ebenezer kills faux Harry.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay. And this was Harry's plan, but I don't think he thought Ebenezer would actually friggin' put a laser bolt through him.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they talk later and like, we're going to move past this. I'm like, how do you move past that? You just totally killed me.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have some rage issues, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Your
Yep.
thoughts? What do you think?
That was one of
So-
my, oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, please, Gabe. go
Okay, I
ahead.
was just say that was by far one of my favorite scenes because I feel like they've been building up to Harry telling Ebenezer that Thomas is his other grandson, basically, for like a long time, and so I knew once this started, I was like, this is going to be the moment. And of course, I had no idea that he did that ring thing, and it actually wasn't Harry. Like
I didn't see that at all.
Yep, exactly. And so,
but it was one of those again where it was revealed. I'm like,
and you're like,
oh
yeah, makes sense.
yeah.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I really enjoy that, and seeing Ebenezer kind of snap was also like interesting because like as Harry says, and he even admits it, he's kind of a rage monster sometimes.
Yeah.
And so
and it parallels really well for, I mean, many of us. I don't know if you guys in particular, but many of us have had issues with parents at some point where you've had a conflict and you've had a break of some sort where you've had to say, hey, I'm not going to just be who you want me to be. I have to be me, and I'm going to do my own thing. And it didn't happen well.
Yeah.
So a lot of people can connect with that. Most people, well, actually everybody connecting with that was not killed by their person. So
yeah, that's true.
Oh man.
But yes.
So Spencer, what do you think of that whole thing then?
So that scene and the one, I think the other scene where Ebenezer went all out was the in Peace Talks where they're in the parking garage.
Oh, and he uses his spell Glenmyra.
Yeah, and oh wow, I can't believe you remembered the name of the spell. That's way over my head. But he gets like this magical armor, like he creates layers of magical armor and the ring of fire and everything, and just we've never seen well, maybe changes a little bit, but we've never really seen Ebenezer cut loose. And so in Peace Talks and Battlegrounds, we really see what kind of specific magic he can use. And those were some of the most tense, action-packed scenes in those books. So it brings up, as far as their relationship is concerned, it brings up a ton of issues. So to start with, how are they going to get past this idea that Thomas is Harry's brother? Because we have had, up to that point, we've had,
lots of books,
14 books, or at least since we knew that they were brothers, and we know who Thomas is, and we know that he is trying to be better than. I think so. I think so. I mean,
is Ebenezer right? That, that's a question that's laid out there. We got Harry's point of view.
That's true. But
we could have been hoodwinked all through these books, and Thomas truly can't be good. It's possible. I think you're right, but it's possible.
But we see Thomas do things like creating the salon, like he's trying not to.
I loved
directly.
That. Ooh,
yeah,
I'm sucking your life out of your hair.
That was such a funny reveal. Oh my god!
One of my French accent and my boyfriend Harry. Oh my goodness, that was great.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole series is when Harry is sneaking over to Thomas's apartment to see what he's been up to, and the security guard and the cop have to believe that he's gay, and so he's playing himself off this way, and I just
the
love
jealous lover.
So
oh my goodness, that was great. Tomas, how crazy is that we can totally shift our perspective when we just say Tomas?
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
But yeah, as far as Ebenezer and Harry, like I said, we've had all this time with Thomas. Ebenezer is just finding out. He doesn't know Thomas from anyone else. And so I'm really interested to see. I think that Ebenezer is going to keep coming after Thomas, and he is going to keep.
And you have to remember, remember too that he's got good reason, right? Like his daughter was basically used and stolen by the White King or whatever he is, and so I can see how that would make somebody hold the grudge for a long time, very long
Let's
time.
add in some layers here. We got Ebenezer in Battleground. We saw, you mentioned we haven't seen his full potential, but holy crap, during the final battle stuff, half his body is black and dark. And I mean, he's gone all Darth White Court or White Council, dark White Council. Whoa, okay, there's some serious power going on there where he's channeling the dark side and is there. But okay, Thomas is his grandson. He has a great grandson on the way who's now with Nemesis. It's like, whoa, where is that gonna go? There's some stuff.
No kidding.
Serious stuff still to happen there. Oh my goodness.
It's gonna get complicated. And I think that was one of the reasons why I mentioned how long the prologue was for Battlegrounds, is because the prologue usually sets up, or epilogue. It usually sets up what's coming in the next few books. With an epilogue that's that long, it's going to get so, like, things are just going to stack and stack and stack and stack and get so complicated.
Go to the epilogue. Lara Wraith.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. I was sold. I'm
really?
Like, yes, they have been setting that up for books and books and books. These two have a connection. They have chemistry. There is something there. I have no problem. Get out. Now it's a fling because he's gonna be with Molly. And man, when that was brought up, Molly was right there, and she's like practically shooting daggers with her eyes while saying, oh yeah, we can make this work. Yeah,
for sure.
There's something there. But I dug it. I think Jim Butcher's going to do some really cool stuff with Lara Wraith and Harry Dresden. Boom, chicka, chicka, bang, bang. I'm just, that's great. I love the twist.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic twist, but I'm just like, there's no way this is going to go through. Like, something. I
was not blindsided though. I'm like, that has been set up since. I mean, criminy. When was it? Blood Rights, I think, is where the whole big scene that happened in the cave there on their estates, right? That was Blood Rights?
No, that's White Knight. White Knight was where they kissed for the first time.
I don't know where I'm trying to think the time where they got blasted out of the cave inside of Harry's bubble he created.
That's White Knight.
That's White Knight. Dang, there's so many books.
I know.
Anyways,
I know.
From that point on, for sure, they were set to do something at some point. So I'm like, yeah. So I'm digging it. That's cool.
Sure. I think that for me, I always like, I knew that they were like flirty in like a frenemies way. Like it was just kind of banter, but I always have thought that Harry is like, no, like as hot as she is, like, there's no way that's ever going to happen. And he's been so strict about that.
There have been more than one time though, and it was very explicit in Battleground, but earlier on where it's been clearly indicated that she looked at Harry differently than she looked at all her other frenemies. There's something, she respects him in some way. Yeah. And I think honestly, she thinks he's a little hot. So it's a personal thing, and she's willing to bend her white vampire-ness to make something work there. Even though when Mab introduces it, she's like, say what?
Yeah.
That is not what she was going for, but okay, let's work this out.
Do you think she's gonna do you think she's gonna find a way to like not hurt him with her vampirism though? Because
she already, I mean, Harry's been able to like pretty much fight it off for the most part.
Yeah, but I mean, Thomas and Justine have been able to do stuff because of a different thing. There's not a true love element involved.
That's true.
And so there's a way.
Yeah.
There's a way they can do something there. Now, Lara is never going to be Harry's true love. That's not going to happen. But can they get it on and enjoy it somehow? I think so. I think they'll figure that out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
The
there's
next book is called Soft Porn. No, I don't know.
The whole book dedicated to her and Harry going on.
Oh, jeez.
That's genius. That's genius because it matches the naming convention. It's 4 letters in each word.
Here we go. That's what we gotta do. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Somebody, please make that cover. Somebody, please make that cover. Oh my God.
It's probably out there already.
It's probably out there.
Probably already taken care of that.
Oh my God. All right. Well, we are running down to the end of our time. I don't want to keep you away for too long, but I do have a couple questions that I want to get through real quick before we end. Gabe has a question about Mouse.
Oh yeah. So I loved Mouse's character, and I'm a huge dog person, so I think that has some influence on that. But what did you think of Mouse?
Mouse is brilliant.
Yes.
Mouse was cute, and then we got to changes.
Yeah.
We got to see Mouse was intelligent. Mouse was not just special, but cognizant of what's going on and making intentional. And that just changes how you see everything with Mouse after that. Yep. I love Mouse. I
agree.
Mouse is awesome.
Yep, I agree.
And we get to hear him talk directly with Harry,
Yep.
In changes too when they all get turned into dogs.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, Mouse basically says, these guys are they're stupid. Come on, just let them come with me.
Yeah.
How much did you love when Leah's like, how did the wizard win you, Tibetan whatever dog?
The guardian or temple dog.
And he's like, the wizard didn't win me, I won him. Like, I'm like, dude, that is such a great moment. Like Mouse loves Harry so much.
Totally. All right. So question for you. Again, I've only read these. I haven't listened to them. I hear they're fantastic audiobooks. But how long if you read them like I did, how long did it take you to figure out it was the she? Not like the Sidhe or City.
Oh no, I would have never known if I had not read the audiobooks.
Same here.
I think
it was only from other podcasts I've listened to. I'm like, oh really? That's what it is. And then I looked it up and went, oh, the she. I know nothing.
I think for a long time I called it the seed. That's just how
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once it took me a long time to call it by the correct name once I learned how it's actually pronounced. Because
hey, we have a 4th podcast member.
That's right.
Nice.
He's here.
Oh wow.
He's getting some attention. Yeah.
I'm a cat person. Love it.
Oh, nice. All right. So kind of getting to the end here, what were your favorite characters in the way of like your favorite characters who had the best moments or like the best growth over the series?
Oh man, there are so many that I've enjoyed here. Definitely Molly, seeing her growth, obviously. Michael.
Yeah.
I remember when Michael was first introduced and the next book there's no Michael. And I'm like, he'll be back. And yes, he was, and it got better and better. Butters is just someone I enjoy. I won't ever say he's my favorite character, but I enjoy him. It's an entertaining arc to see. They're just all so really good.
Yeah, I would say almost all of them have incredible growth, for the most part.
Yeah, there's no character where I can go, that one sucks, cut him from the show. No. Yeah, I really like what's happening with all these characters.
What are your thoughts on the way that Harry specifically has grown from beginning to now? Because we were just talking about this in our Proven Guilty episode about how he's grown from the beginning of the series to Proven Guilty, finally becoming a mentor and taking responsibility for somebody other than himself. What do you think about how he's kind of just this journey that he's been on and the way that he's grown personally?
Well, he started off as a wizard who needed to advertise in the yellow pages.
Yeah.
I'm just a mediocre guy trying to make my way in the world. And now he he has grown in strength, in responsibility, in understanding of how all this fits together. His growth arc is massive.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he's also grown in understanding that he needs to know more. He's going to go train with River Shoulders.
Yeah.
He's going to, follow
the water path.
They called the character they called Injun Joe at first, which was very inappropriate. Thank you. Listens to the wind. Listens to wind. He's going to go follow that path. He's going to learn this whole next level, and he's driven to do that now. He wants to become more than he was. That's not where he started. He started out as a 2-bit wizard just trying to make his way and hopefully pay the rent. So the growth is amazing. Yeah. And that's pretty impressive.
There's such a huge difference from the first book to Battleground. And, if you were to read just those 2 books, it would be like,
these don't go together.
Huge power jump? Yeah. But at any point in the series, did his growth feel either forced or like it was too much of a step? Like I feel like it just happened so perfectly in very
that's
small,
another spot
incremental levels
where Ghost Story fits beautifully.
Yeah.
Because it did take him a jump big time.
Yeah.
But it made sense. The dude went through a coma, comes through because of Mab's specific work with him and Demon Reach, to bring him to something else. And then to spend how many months in rehab trying to survive being killed every day, that'll push you, It, again, brilliant to make a real jump in power level.
Yeah, and he even mentions in Skin Game, because I think there's a point in Skin Game where he doesn't have a lot of his tools with him, and he's like, Mab was like training me for this, or maybe it was at the end of Cold Days where he didn't have his tools, and he's like, Mab was training me for this. Like she got me to a point where during my rehab I could cast all these spells, I could do all these physical things without any clothes on. Yeah, I don't need clothes. I don't need a staff. I don't, all this stuff.
Speaking of Skin Game, we saw that starts with a G. The Sasquatch.
The Genasqua.
Thank you. The Genasqua. Totally splattereened. And he's not dead yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, now that's scary. That's coming back. Ooh.
And that just shows you what the coins can do. Because, if he's able to get crushed by one of those blocks and still survive, like, why didn't he just go through the ice field in that book? They should have just sent him through. But
man, yeah.
But yeah, it's
gonna be a good ride to the end.
So I guess final question before final general thoughts on the series, if you have any, but final question is, where do you see this series going? Having streamlined all these books, you've gotten a pretty good, over the past few months, a pretty good streamlined view of the series. Where would you predict this goes? And with whatever you want to talk about, but also I was thinking, do you think that Harry will ever get rid of his mantle and help Molly get rid of hers, maybe?
And also there's the Starborn thing too that we didn't bring up.
There is.
Oh yeah, we should talk about Starborn.
Yeah, I don't know. I imagine, yes, he's going to get rid of the Winter Mantle, and Molly's going to get rid of the Winter Lady at some point, because they're going to live happily ever, all making little Dresdens at some point. But I don't know how. The Starborn thing, we've gotten the point. There's more than one person who's Starborn. I mean, there's multiple Starborns.
Elaine is a contender. Yeah.
Now, we didn't even talk about Elaine anywhere.
Oh my God.
I know.
But she's gonna be back. There's more there for sure. I don't know. I don't know where this is all going to.
More to come.
This is part of what we're so excited about, to see what he has laid so much foundation here, and Battleground is not the peak. There's more to go. It's like, oh crap. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I am super excited for Mirror Mirror. It's not the next book, but the one after that. Have you heard about
It's
that
not
one?
the next book. I thought that was the next book.
No,
Oh
Jim.
no, what do you know?
Jim.
I
Jim
heard that was
changed-
the next book.
Jim changed.
He added
his
a
mind.
17.5? What?
Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna put out the next book is gonna be a book called 12 Months, and it's gonna be the year in between the end of Battleground and like the day before he's supposed to marry Laura. And we're gonna see him kind of deal with all this. He's had a lot of trauma over the last few years. And so we're gonna see him, we're gonna see him kind of deal with all of this trauma that he's built up. And I think what Jim Butcher is trying to do is trying to get Dresden back to like a foundation, because right now he's so like in his head about so many things. And I think that Jim Butcher is trying to show us this journey to get him back to a very stable playing field so that Dresden can be at the top of his game for Mirror Mirror, because Mirror Mirror is going to be a huge book. Like that's going to be the one with like time travel and alternate realities.
I've seen a lot of speculation that we're going to move into Star Trek realm, basically, you know, the alternate universe. And I'm like, wow, one of the craziest I heard is he's going to meet another Harry Dresden, who's the good Harry Dresden. Have you heard that one?
Oh,
I have.
That the Harry we know is not the good Harry. He's the
Oh.
dark Harry. And it's like, whoa, yeah, I don't know,
That'd
but
be
that's
sick.
mind-blowing.
I would
It
love
is
that.
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's hard to comprehend.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Can't
think-
wait. Can't wait.
What do you think is going to happen to like Mab and everybody? Like I Mab has got to die at some point, right? Like I would think.
Man, I don't think so.
And, yeah, I was
No?
gonna, I was gonna
Because,
say the same
you know,
thing.
If Mab dies, Molly needs to be killed. She's not ready. There's no way she's gonna be ready in
Yeah.
another year or two.
Yeah.
So
Right.
are we jumping 100 years ahead? You know, I don't think
Right.
so. I think Mab's gonna suck it up and be fine. Just my thought.
I would tend to agree. Because especially if Molly gets out of the game, you know, if your
Yeah.
theory about Harry and Molly is correct, then
That's right. That's right.
know,
Then you
and-
get a different
then-
Winter Lady
That's
in
right,
who
who's
is
not
ready,
gonna be-
perhaps, to move on.
eh,
Were any of
Unless
you
it's
kind of like,
Maggie.
whoa, when Mab said to Harry, if I die, kill Molly as fast as you can? Were any of you
Yeah.
like, whoa?
So
I'm-
I was at the beginning, I was like, whoa, and then I thought about the ramifications of it, and I was like, you know, she could do so much damage without even
Yeah.
knowing that she's doing it.
See, to me, that warmed me up to Mab more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to show that she would care to that degree. I would not want to do to Molly or to the world what that would do.
Yeah,
So kill her right away.
for sure.
Yeah.
Of course, the big question is, okay, if both Mab and the Winter Lady are gone,
Does
then
Mother-
what?
does
You know,
Mother Winter,
Yeah.
like step
who's
back into play,
better
or-
ready? Does Mother Winter? Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, is she basically saying kill Molly so that the whole world can go to crap but Molly's okay? I mean, what does
Yeah.
that mean? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
think-
Spencer. We just derailed that sucker all over the
no,
place. There
no,
you
go for it, please. That's what we're here to do.
do.
I think my biggest, I don't know if it's my biggest question, but as far as like end game big questions is like, I want to know more about these outsiders. I want to know more about the outsiders and Nemesis. And
he who walks beneath
Yeah.
the floors, behind the aisles, over
Yeah.
the roof, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I want to,
There's something there.
yeah, I want to find out more about them, and I want to find out like what is outside reality, because they've said so many times like these are not from our reality. So like
Right.
what reality are they from? And I just want to know like what happens if they're defeated, because like what if they're like how Mab is like an intrinsic part of reality. If she dies, like it'll be summer all the time. So, or if the winter court goes down, it'll be summer all the
Yeah.
time. So it's like, what happens if the outsiders die? Like,
Now that was a good reveal in these later books, that the summer and winter courts, the different roles they play.
yeah,
That winter is about keeping the outsiders outside. And yes, there's
Yeah.
bad stuff, but that's like fringe. They're
Right.
mostly about keeping the outsiders. And the summer is about keeping the winter in check.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, so the summer doesn't do anything important. They're just there to keep the winter from being too bad. Because
Right.
we need winter to be bad to keep the outside.
Right.
Wow. I mean, that was interesting.
It's pretty
I liked it.
cool. Pretty cool. And I also liked in speaking of the summer court, I think it was in Summer Night where they're talking about like what would happen if the winter court were to fall and it would be summer all the time. You know, Bob was telling Harry, oh yeah, there would be 1,000 years of life and growth. And Harry's like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. And Bob's like, oh yeah, it's not that bad if you're the Ebola virus. And the book just keeps growing and growing and growing. And so, yeah, I definitely like how they each have their things that keep each other in check. And then of course there's like this way bigger, secret behind it all.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic,
because Butcher has
reveal.
not revealed it all yet.
Right. That's right. All right. Well, any final thoughts on the series before we go? Anything that we didn't cover that anybody would like to bring up before we cut it off for the night?
One thing, just
Sure.
one. These people who talk about there being a slog somewhere along there in books like 4, 5, 6, poppycock. Are you
Yeah.
reading the same books I am? There is nothing. Maybe, again, it's like Wheel of Time. People talk about a slog in the middle of the Wheel of Time series. But if you read them now, when they're all out, there's no slog. And I think Dresden Files is the same way. If you can,
For
like
sure.
I did, you can just plow through them. They're just epic, awesome. Keep them coming. There's no slog. But
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. If you were reading them as they came out, there could be some where you're like, come on, I need
Yeah.
more. That's all
Right.
you got for me? Okay, I get that. But yeah, there's no slog now. Screw that. It's awesome.
So I think where the slog kind of comes in for people on the Dresden, and I wouldn't consider it a slog either, because I think even the books that I don't like are still some of like, it's still Dresden Files. Like it's still always awesome. And so the slog in the Dresden Files kind of comes in the same place where it does in Wheel of Time. Books like 10, 11, 12, basically everything between.
Now you say that theoretically, right? Because you haven't got there yet.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, because I haven't read that much.
I'm just calling you. That's all I'm saying. You're not there yet.
I soft DNF'd the Shadow Rising, and I'm gonna come back to it. I'm gonna come back to it. But I was just like, I was so confused halfway through the book, and I'm like, I had so many other things I needed to read.
Dude, my
like,
wife is to book 6 already. So I'm just shaming you right there,
For
okay?
sure.
And she doesn't read fantasy. She's to
Right.
book 6. Okay. It's all
You better
good.
pick up your game, man.
Right. Yeah.
Come on.
No, but I think I'm trying to look at my books right now. I think the slog kind of comes in around like Small Favor, maybe White Knight for some people, Small Favor, Turncoat, because it doesn't seem like anything. If you're on your first read through, it doesn't seem like anything substantial is happening necessarily besides a couple things.
It's
but
just putting pieces in. Yeah, it's not
yeah.
until you hit changes and then whoa.
Yeah.
Except that the next book is Ghost Story and you go,
exactly.
whoa.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, with White Knight, Small Favor, and Turncoat, yeah, I think it's easy on a first read through to be like, all right, let's just get moving here. But then when you do a reread, it's like, oh dang, like this had a lot to do with the future books,
which is what I got to see plowing through the whole thing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I, even now when I think to going back to like Small Favor and Turncoat specifically, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm not really looking forward to this. But then every single time I read those books, I'm like, dude, these are like my favorite books. Like I love these things.
Good
and
call.
I always forget when I'm on the outside of it. But
There you go. Well, that's all we need to say then, isn't it?
That's all we need to say. All right. Well, Jim, thank you so much for hanging out with, like, this was seriously so
man.
much fun. Like,
This was great.
so awesome.
Thanks for having me on. I
Yeah,
love talking about
for
this.
Definitely feel free to come on anytime you want to talk about Dresden Files or anything.
We still have to have
else.
you guys on our show at some point. It's coming.
Yeah,
We'll get
let's
you on.
do it. Yeah, that'd be super,
we're
super fun.
gonna talk Dresden Files at some point.
Yeah.
Perfect time to get you in, if nothing
sure.
else. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Once I can get that dead beat of a son.
Yeah.
See what I did there? Yeah.
Yeah.
To read these books. Yes.
All right. Well, definitely. Thank you for coming on tonight. Like I said, this was
my
ton
pleasure.
Of fun. We are going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check out Jim's podcast, Fantasy for the Ages. I'll link their Twitter, Spotify, and YouTube down below in the description. If you haven't already, please hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Make sure you ring that little bell to get notified as our content comes out. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter at Files Fantasy. Stay tuned for some really awesome content coming up. We have a ton of collaborations with other booktubers and bloggers coming up in the next month. I'm seriously so excited about this. I'm completely blown away by all of the responses we've gotten from people who want to just come out and talk about books and do collaborations. So definitely stay tuned for those. We'll see you on the next video. And until next time, the building may be on fire, but it's certainly not my fault.
Indeed.